Hello, good morning everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Watertown, Massachusetts. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Todd Carlson. I'm the product manager for Carlson Takeoff, and today we're going to be looking at our Carlson construction product that is being changed and released with the 2014 that was just released last week. This is a big change for Carlson Construction. It's undergone a realignment of products. So before our 2014 release, we had Carlson Construction, Carlson Takeoff, and the Takeoff R6 OEM, with construction being based on doing data prep for taking fields out to being staked and machine control. Takeoff did data prep as well as an estimating package. And then the R6 had the AutoCAD engine built into it. One problem we had with this is that construction was $5,000, Takeoff is $9,000, and there was no real way to go in between those two. So what we've changed in 2014 is that construction is now kind of our base estimating package. So it's going to be able to do all the data prep that it did before, but now it's really a full estimating package for doing cut and fill estimating. And then the modules that, some special features that were in Takeoff are becoming new programs that you can add to construction. And those are CADNet, Geotech, and Trench. Now you can start off with construction and you can add these modules. And these modules can also be run by themselves. If you're a utilities guy, you could get just Trench and do all the estimating you need with that product. Those four products combined together are creating the Takeoff Suite. So anyone with Takeoff 2013, if you're on maintenance, you'll be getting the Takeoff Suite, which will be these four programs together. And then we still have our Takeoff R6 OEM, our Cadillac product of all those four modules plus an AutoCAD engine embedded. So that's the change with construction and breaking up into those new modules. Some things that are going to be added to construction is material quantities. So before, construction was just data prep now, and it could do basic cut fill estimating. We're adding stuff into construction to make it a full cut fill program. So material quantities has been added to construction to do subgrades, asphalt, gravel, get quantities for those, and do some basic costing. Areas of interest and over-excavation is also being added to construction. And then there's links to those other modules. So if I have the Geotech module and I enter in borehole, drill hole data, I can then use that information in construction to get a more detailed cut fill volume report. So of my cut, I can see what underground materials that cut includes. And also digitizing is coming from CADNet. The one feature that is moving out is the PDF import is going to the CADNet module. But anyone that's current on construction, the maintenance you'll get for 2014, you'll get CADNet included with construction. If you have the Takeoff Suite and you're getting the 2014 product, you'll be getting all these modules, the construction, Geotech, CADNet, and Trench. And there's also some other features that are coming from construction that you didn't have before from the survey pull down. Some COGO routines and some annotation. So today's agenda, we're going to be looking at, we're going to do some basic cut fill volumes, and we'll look at some of the new things that are coming into construction as a product. So we're going to look at over excavation, we're going to do some areas of interest, which is breaking up the site. Instead of getting quantities for the whole site, getting them broken down in phases or any areas that you're interested in. And then we're going to look at material quantities. And if we have time, we're going to look at some changes that we've added to the mass haul routine. So let's jump into the software. If you have any questions as I'm going through any of those particular steps, there's a chat on the right bar, the GoToMeeting. Feel free to ask questions at any time, and I'll stop every couple of minutes and try to answer those questions. So I'm in Carlson Construction 2014, and I'm going to open up a file here. Okay, so if you're new to construction or takeoff, I'll just go through the basic steps of creating surfaces. There's more detailed webinars and videos on our website that will go through in more detail, but I'll just give you a quick intro on the steps that need to happen. So under our takeoff pull down here, there's a project checklist. And the way we create surfaces in this program is we take the layers that are in the drawing and we assign them as either existing elements or design elements. And that's our first step. We set a boundary polyline, and then we can make surfaces based off of those layers to get volumes. So to do that first step, starting out in a drawing, I'm going to look at my list of layers here. So everything will start out in other, and I need to tell the program the layers for existing design. Okay, so I can pick them from the screen. Here's a building. I can say, that's a design element and move it to the design. Or I can pick layers from the screen. And to do that, I'm just going to come up here, zoom into my drawing. I can see that there's some existing contours coming through the site here. So I'm just going to pick the set layer for existing and move those to the existing target. Okay, now I can turn off all the other layers. I'm viewing those layers that are on existing.
Todd?
Yep.
There is one question. Is there a comparison matrix showing the different features of each module?
Yes. Yeah, there's a full list of the differences that if you contact your local dealer or sales rep, Carlson sales rep, they should show that to you. Okay, so I'm just picking on the layers that are existing. So I have, kind of hard to see, there's a design building in here. This right here is actually an existing building. And if I use, if I look at my surface inspector or drawing inspector, I can go over, I can see this is an existing pavement layer here. And if I go over this line, here's a 3D back of curve line. So I want to put this to the existing as well. I'm going to pick on that and press enter. Okay, and turn off other and design. I'm displaying the existing drawing now by clicking this icon. Okay. So I have some existing contours. It looks like I picked on the wrong layer. This should be on the design. I'm going to move that to the design. Okay. So I can see I have the existing road that's going in here and some contours. Let's grab the rest of the existing. Okay, so I just turned off the existing and said display other drawing. I'm saying set layer for existing, and I'm going to grab some of these. Okay. Right here, that's my existing building. I'm going to move that to existing. Okay. Now, if I look at my existing drawing, I have contours on here, a building, and a road. And if I go up to my list, what's shown on the screen is the layers that make up this list for existing. Okay. So for right now, on the design, I just have a building and one contour line. So if I turn off existing and design, I can view those contours and the building. And really everything else that's left in this drawing is design elements. So I'm going to say set layer for design, window around all these entities, and press enter. Okay, so now I have layers for the existing and design. Now, in order to get volumes, we need to build a surface model from these layers. So with Drawing Inspector on, which is also under Inquiry, I can see this index contour has an elevation of 96. And this building has an elevation too. And I can view this line work in 3D as well. And I can do a vertical exaggeration. I can see the existing site, building, and the contour lines and the elevations that those are at. So if I look at my takeoff project checklist, we've defined those layers. We need to set a boundary polyline, the limits of work for our site. And to do that, I'm going to look at our design, and I'm going to run a command under draw called shrink wrap entities. And I'm going to put this layer that I'm going to draw put this line that I'm going to draw on a layer called LOW for limit of work, and it's going to go around my site here. So I'm going to say OK, and select my entities, and press Enter. Okay, now I have a line that's going all the way around my site. I can move this line work in if I want to make it tighter. Okay, but I'm basically telling the program I want quantities inside this line work. Without drawing this boundary, it might calculate a surface between this area and give me cut fill volumes in an area I don't actually want. So that's why we need to create this boundary line. After you've drawn a line in like that, just go to Set Boundary Polyline, and I can click on this line and press Enter. And if I go to Project Checklist, we've done that step. Now we can make our existing or ground surface. It doesn't matter what's shown on the screen. I'm just going to run this next icon here, Make Existing Ground Surface. Okay, it says Done. And I can go up to View, Surface 3D Viewer, and load this model. So we've taken a drawing with a bunch of layers. We've identified which ones were for the existing, and we create a boundary polyline, and that gives us a surface of those contour lines. Okay, and then we're just going to do the same thing for design, make design surface. Okay, I'm going to exit out of here. We can look at a model for that as well. View, Surface 3D Viewer. And here's our design model. You can see the pond in there and the building as well. Okay, so we have our two initial models. If we look at the project checklist, we've done enough to calculate volumes between these two. So let's do calculate total volumes and say OK. And so this is saying between the existing tin, the EX, and my design tin, the FN, I have a cut and a fill numbers given to me. And I can see the total area of the site. And an export volume, so just the difference between cut and fill. If I had more fill, I'd have an import number. And then an elevation change to reach balance. So if I raise this site 0.6 feet, my cut fill volumes would balance out. So all this workflow was in construction before. And I'm going to go over adding excavation and over excavate for volumes. But is there any questions so far, Karen? On just if anyone has questions listening in on the basics, feel free to ask them. But I'm going to show what's been added to construction, which is under Takeoff, over excavate, and we're going to make an over excavate surface. If I jump back to PowerPoint here, we'll just make this bigger. Okay, so what we're doing is that we have an existing surface, which is in this black line, and then the red line's the design. See if I can delete some of this text behind it. Okay. So, just the standard cut fill volumes report that we have. If this red line's design and this black line is existing, it calculates the cut. If this is design and this black line's existing still, then this is a fill area. What we can do now in construction is calculate an over excavate. So in this example, there's an over excavation of 4.5 feet. This is saying that for the design surface, they wanted at least 4.5 feet of good fill. Some suitable material was on the existing site, so they wanted at least 4.5 feet of good fill from the finished grade to 4 feet below that. So in a cut area, they needed to go an extra 4.5 feet before over excavating that before going up to the finish. And in a fill area, if they're filling over 4.5 feet, then they didn't need to over excavate that surface. But in this area here, when the fill is only about 2 feet, then they still needed to cut another 2.5 feet in order to get a minimum of 4.5 feet on the finished grade to getting good material. Well, let's do that. Let's calculate a similar over excavate on this job. And to do that, we're going to go to Takeoff, over excavate surface. I'm going to say make over excavate surface from the existing design surfaces. Okay, so I'm going to do a minimum of existing design. So if I knew I wanted to strip 2 feet off the existing, I could do that, or 2 feet from the design. What doing the minimum of existing design will do is that in a fill scenario that's over 2 feet, I'm not going to have to over-excavate that. I'm going to have enough fill that I don't need to over-excavate. So you can specify which method you need to do and the amount that you would need to over-excavate. So let's do 2 feet here. Okay, and it says done. So what that has done is it's looked at that minimum of the existing design and applied 2 feet of extra over excavation to give us at least 2 feet of good fill. So to check that out, if I do surface inspector, which is right here, okay, so if I'm in my building, I can see the existing, the unadjusted design surface, and the over-excavate surface. So I've gone 2 feet below there. I can see the cut. Okay. As I get into a fill area, you'll see I'm still doing an over-excavate of 2 feet below the design. But once I get over 2 feet, then it's saying I don't need to over-excavate anything. I have enough fill already. I don't need to rip up any of the bad soil underneath that. Okay. And just by picking on the screen, I can write out those elevations to the screen. I can view where that over-excavate cut is under over-excavate surface, draw over-excavate cut color map. Okay, so I can see I'm over-excavating most of the site. The site that's white here is where I'm not over-excavating, and that's going to be in a fill area of over 2 feet. And if I use my surface inspector again, okay, you can see all those fill values are over 2 feet, anywhere in the white. So I'm not over-excavating that area. Okay, and then to confirm that in the quantities, if I go to Takeoff, calculate total volumes, and I say OK again, you can see my cut fill volumes don't change, but now I have an over-excavate amount, and it's smaller than the overall site.
So Todd,
Yep.
We have a question. Can you do an over-excavate to an area, say a building footprint or 15 feet outside the footprint?
Yep. Let me erase this color map. Yeah, to do that, so that's across the whole site. If I only need to over-excavate within the building pad, there's over-excavate surface, and I can say adjust surface. And that allows me, okay, enter in a depth. Maybe in the building I have to go 8 feet. So I can hit 8, enter, and then it says select objects, and they have to be a closed area. So I can pick on this building, or if I needed to go 15 out, I would offset line work first to have a line that's 15 feet outside of this. So I can just pick on this line and press enter. Okay, and it's changed that over-excavate surface. So if I do surface inspector now and go over this, you can see the over-excavation surface is now 10 feet below. So it was already 2 feet. Now in the building pad, I'm going an extra 8 feet below. And if I run quantities, So it was about 17,000 cubic yards before. Okay, again, our overall cut fill volumes don't change. Now doing that extra 8 feet in that whole building pad has added another 12,000 cubic yards of bad material I have to over excavate. The other thing you can do under takeoff, over excavate, is that instead of using the existing design models, if you have the geotech module or if you have Carlson takeoff, you can enter in boring data and create strata surface models. And then you could say, instead of going 8 feet in the building pad, go to bedrock. I need to excavate all the way down until I hit a good, suitable soil. And it might not be a uniform 8 feet. It could be changing based off of that drill hole information. With the geotech, that's another thing you can do with over excavate is take it down to a strata or remove a whole strata and replace it. So that's some of the basics of over excavation. You can look at doing subgrades now, but feel free to ask any questions in the chat there. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, so with just construction, we're doing cut fill volumes, but now you have the ability to add in subgrades. If we go back to the same place where you have a list of for your design elements, you can come and double-click on here, and you can see for my 3D building, I have defined concrete and gravel coming in here. And then there's different cost units that I can put in. So I have tons. My gravel's $11 a ton. Okay, so let's go through and define some of the other things that are in this job. One command that's nice, which is often not used a lot, is our layer inspector, especially getting drawings from engineers, and they have inconsistent layers. What the layer inspector will do is it looks at all the layers on the list, and then you can isolate or highlight those layers on the screen. So instead of having to go up to isolate and then restore, I can kind of step through. So I see my 3D building, this 3D concrete. Okay, I can see this is my walkways. And this 4 means it's 4-inch, and I can see that I have a bigger concrete area that's for 6-inch. I can look at my back of curb line work. And here's another walkway in the job. So let's add subgrades for these layers. One thing that's important with subgrades is you're really getting 2 things by using subgrades. One, it's going to adjust. So instead of getting cut fill volumes from your finished surface to the existing, it's going to push down and give you cut fill volumes from the bottom of your subgrade to the existing. So you're going to get, in fill scenarios, you're going to have less fill because you're of regular dirt. And then in cut scenarios, you're going to have more cut to cut in a subgrade. So our cut fill volumes will change by putting in these subgrades. And then we'll also get quantities of the materials that we define. So in order to have our subgrades adjust that model, I need closed line work. So it's good to isolate the layers that you want to put subgrades to before defining layers, and really do two things. So even though all this line work looks closed, it's always good to run join nearest, because sometimes even if things don't look closed, they can actually have little gaps in them. Okay, let me exit out. Okay, all right. And so I'm in join nearest, and these layers, I just want to make sure that they're all joined. Okay, and then I want to make sure that they're closed as well. Okay, so of all these different paving areas, 10 of them were already closed, but 6 had little gaps. And by running the closed polyline, close those off so that the program will be able to adjust that subgrade area. Let's go back to the layer inspector. New file, save here. Okay. I'm going to run the layer inspector. And let's look at this next one. So here's an example where I can close this line work, exit out of the layer inspector, and say close. Okay, and then to restore all my design layers, I can just toggle this on and off. Okay, so I have this 6-inch concrete area and then 4-inch. So I'm going to go up into my layers here, go to the design, and just double-click on the 4-inch concrete. And I'm going to give it, I'm going to put concrete in here. So it's working in feet or inches. So if I want to do 4 inches, do 0.33. And then I'm going to put gravel as well at 0.67. Okay, and then I can put in those the cost units I want for those. So for the concrete, let's say it's 120 per cubic yard. And for the gravel, let's put in $11 a ton again. You need to put in a density factor in order to calculate that, pounds per cubic feet, and I'm going to use 115. Okay, and then we can also, when we look at a 3D model for this, we can have the program color in this area. And then let's go to the next one. And I'm going to put in concrete, and gravel. This is 6 inches, so I'm going to do 0.5. And the gravel, I'm going to do the same 6.7. And put in those values again. 120 cubic yard and $11 a ton. Okay. So back a curb, I'm going to do something a little different. So instead of this being a straight area, I can say this line here is the back of curb line. So if I check this and I go into curb dimensions, I can say that's my back of curb line. I want to apply a curb to the inside of this line. So the base is going to be 30 inches. And its height is going to be 6 inches, and the back height here is 12 inches. I'm going to have a 6-inch drop, and then I can have it apply different subgrades after the curb to the inside of the curb. I can put these curb dimensions from the back of the curb going in, and then subgrades after that. So let's put in, I'll do some bit concrete and call it, excuse me, top. If I can get to the T. And then put in some binder. And this is all user definable that you'll get in the report by putting this in here. Okay, and then underneath that I'll put some gravel. Depths for these, let's do 0.125, 0.21, 0.33, and gravel we'll do the 0.67. Okay, and then we'll put in costs for these as well. So let's do $12 and $10 and $9 and then $11. Okay, and I'm going to put these all to ton as well. All right, and density factors, do 155, 155, 130, and the gravel we did 115. Let's put this in a 3D view. We'll color this area. Okay, so what will happen now, I can see that total going down 1 foot and 4 inches about. So what is going to happen is it's going to look at that layer in the drawing. So I have my back to curb. It's going to apply that curb going out 30 inches, and then it's going to apply those subgrades afterwards for my asphalt and gravel going in here. So you see under design, this is all, let's put in, there's another paving area. So this is more heavy duty, and then there's another paving area up here. Okay, this asphalt area is a light duty pavement. So you've seen that I've gone through and I can manually type those all in. But once you enter those in once, it stores those values to a library. So now that I have those, let's put this into color. But instead of having to type those all in again, I can just go to set. And I can say, okay, I want my top, and then my binder, and then some gravel. Okay, so it's populated all the cost units that I want to use for these, and I can specify the depths. Since this is a light duty area, let's do a little less. I'll do 0.08 and 17, and gravel I'll do the 6.7. And this library can be saved and used on your next job. I'll show where that is. Let's get rid of this here. Okay. So now I have building defined. I have my my paving areas and also some concrete walks as well. So let's look at a report for all these. I do save and exit. Okay, we have calculate total volumes, but now let's look at our material quantities report. So it's just the next icon here. I'm going to look at the entire drawing. So I'm going to say OK. Okay, so I can see my building is a total area. And then going inside my building, I have concrete and gravel. So I get a volume for those. And then by using that cost unit, I have my cost. And then I have that on the concrete blocks, and then also my back of curb line. So I get my linear footage of curb, and then all those different volumes. Okay. One thing you'll notice here is that all these volumes, or this area for the asphalt, is less than the overall site, and that's because the curb is pushing into it. But once that the depths of those become greater than the depth of the curb, then my gravel now runs underneath my curb. So my gravel is underneath my curb. I get the whole volume going off of that. And then the program totals those. So, I have concrete in 3 different subgrades, but it's giving me a total of concrete and a volume and a cost for that. Okay. By specifying different types, if you're using different types of concrete, just give it a different name. But by giving it the same name, it will give you a total across all different subgrades. And here's a totals material report of that. And then I can see, in this report that I could print out or save, I can see what cost units I use. Just make sure that these are based off of good numbers I want to use. So let's exit out of this report. And I'll show where you can save that library. So under Material Quantities, at the end of the Takeoff pull-down, there's Define Materials Library. Okay? So as you go, it will populate this list with the quantities and costs that you entered. And then if you want to use it on your next job, you can do Save As. And here's one of all sewer materials. Let's do Site. Okay, and let's see if I load sewer. Okay, here's one of all different types of PVC, all different types of structures and materials saved in a library that on my next job I can just load this and go right from there and not have to type all these costs in to each job. So you can just save this file and then load it on your next job. And that's just under Takeoff, Material Quantities, and the Materials Library. Okay, so we looked at quantities of our subgrades. We can also look at how that affected our cut fill volumes. So if I run Calculate Total Volumes right now, and we'll remake those surfaces. Okay, so now it's building a design model with these subgrades built in. So I should be seeing more cut, because I'm not going to the finished grade anymore. I'm going to the subgrade. You can see I had 15,000 cubic yards a cut before, and now it's 19,000. And my fill reduced a little bit, take 1,000 cubic yards. So by putting in subgrades, you'll get more accurate cut fill volumes, and then you can do costing and get a report breakdown of all your materials. you have any questions on that, fire away. The next thing we're going to look at is doing areas of interest. So in that report we just looked at, we were getting quantities for the whole site. We can use areas of interest to get a breakdown of our site, if it's in phases or just to get more knowledge on the site. So you can use any existing line work, and this is again under Takeoff, and right here we're going to do areas of interest and tag area of interest. Okay, so I can pick on any existing line. So this will give me cut fill quantities within any line that I pick. So I'm going to pick the building here. I'm going to call it, name this my building. And I have an option, if there was any areas to exclude, I could do that. And say no. Okay, so we're going to get quantities inside the building. Let's also look at quantities for just this detention pond over here. So I'm going to do draw 2D polyline. And I'm going to put it on my same boundary line work, limit of work. And I'll just draw a line through here. One nice thing that we have is following existing line work. So if I hit F for follow right now, okay, I get a prompt to pick a line to follow. I can pick a first point and now a last point. So I want my line to go all the way around here. Let's go to here. Is this correct? You see it's a dashed line, making sure it's going in the right direction, yes. And now I can continue picking, or I can say C for close. Now I have to find a new area. I want to get quantities for just inside here. I'm going to go to Takeoff, areas of interest, tag area of interest, and pick on this line. Okay, and I'm going to call it pond. Okay, so I have two areas of interest to find. Now I can go to Takeoff, calculate total volumes. Okay, I could look at the same standard report, but let's look at one of our PDF reports. So I'm going to do the expanded one, report, cut, fill, and color, and I'm going to say OK. So here's for my total site. I get my cut and fill that we saw before. I get the over excavate. And now I get a breakdown. So just in my building, I can see the cut and fill and my pond as well. Okay, if I did topsoil removal and replacement, I would see volumes for those as well in here. I can see, the pond has more fill, and the building has more cut. So it can help me help you plan to do a job if you know these numbers. A couple more things with the subgrades. So under Takeoff, there's hatch subgrade areas. And, we looked at volumes for those, and we kind of trusted the program that calculated those areas correctly. But I can go into any area and say, draw that for me, okay? And I can confirm, was this my light-duty paving area? Is that correct? Or I could draw all the subgrades. So I could say, subgrade areas, hatch subgrade areas. We'll say draw all. Okay. And you can see I got an error on the concrete 4. So I might have some still issues where some of this line work's not closed. I wouldn't trust those numbers quite yet on the concrete 4. I could go back and fix those. But I can see it's hatched the other areas correctly. My building, the concrete 6-inch, and my driveway going around. You can draw a legend of these under Takeoff, Subgrade areas. Draw Subgrade hatch legend, and I'll say OK, and pick this to the side. All right, and then this is something, you know, if I wanted to print this out, I can go to Takeoff, Graphic Reports, Plan View, and I'll just say OK there. Now it's going to create a PDF of my job with that subgrade maps in there. Okay, I'm going to go to subgrade areas and erase these now. So we've looked at subgrades. We can also check them by using the surface inspector. So if I run my surface inspector now, I won't remake the surfaces. They should be fine. Let's do you can see in the road area here how my target design is below the unadjusted finished grade elevation. And if I go into subgrade areas, I can double check that that subgrade is being applied in that area, that the target design is below my unadjusted design. Karen, is there any questions on the subgrades or basic cut fill volumes or the over excavate?
No, there haven't been. There have been a couple questions about how do we download a demo and things like that, and I was able to answer those. So,
okay.
Not a lot of questions. You're coming to the end of your time, however.
All right. Yeah, so that's a lot of the basic things that we've added to construction, the areas of interest, doing these material quantities, and the over excavate. If people want to stay on, I'm just going to show a mass haul command. Probably take 5 or 10 minutes. So let me jump over to that drawing. If you have any questions on this that we just went over, I'll leave it open and we can jump back to it. But I'm not going to go through all of our mass haul routine. Just one of the new features that we've added to it. So with construction and takeoff, you're building tin models for site work to get cut fill estimating. The other way you can do volumes in Carlson is just off of cross sections. If you have cross sections from a road, similar to how you create a .tin surface model of the existing design, if you're just working off of cross sections, you're creating an SCT section file of the existing design. And then from those section files, you can run end area volumes or mass haul analysis. So we have other videos and tutorials on our website that go through the whole process of creating section files. Basically, you can digitize them in with our CADNet routine. Under roads in construction, we have importing section files from different DOTs, so they have a section file, you can load that directly in. And then we also have the ability to create section files. If they're just in a CAD file on the screen, then you can create a section file based off of that on the screen. If you just have a PDF or paper plan, then we offer digitizing in that line work. And once you've created that section file, what you're getting, if I go into Input Edit Section File here, and let's load an existing and design one that I have. What you're getting is at a station, you're getting the offsets and elevations. So offset from center line, left and right. And if I step through these, you can see these change. So I have a design one here compared to an existing. And I can see this. We've loaded section files, and we're looking at those section files. So with these section files, we could do end area, volumes, and mass haul. So let's run a mass haul routine on these two section files that we have. Changes, no, and I'm just going to type in mass haul. Okay, so it's just prompting me, similar to loading a TIN file. I'm loading these section files for the existing and final grade. And I'm going to say OK here. And I guess before I go through this, what we've added for the 2014 release is that for your mass haul analysis, you could define where imports or exports, external hauls, were coming from, but it only minimized earth movement for in-station. So say I had a big fill right here, and I said I had a borrow pit at this station and this station. Before, the program just looked at this station and said, okay, the station's closer, so you want to bring the fill from here. What we've added in 2014 is the ability to say, hey, you know, this borrow pit is much further away than this one. You know, take that into consideration when you're trying to minimize the earth movement for doing this road job. So it's saying this one's shorter, use borrow pit C and not go as far away.
So Todd, there is one question. Can this be used to estimate construction staking for a large-scale road project?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have customers doing, 2-mile, 3-mile roads using the software, just based off of cross sections and using routines that we have here under roads. And then we have a full road package. Instead of just doing cross sections, you can build roads with centerline information, so you can do staking based off of the centerline. With these cross sections, section utilities, there's sections to points. So if you need to lay out this job, you can say, okay, take my section file and create points. And then you can use that to lay out from that. And you can have in the description, offsets from the edge of pavement or centerline and that sort of thing. So yeah, our package is used for both estimating and then staking or creating machine control files for our road. And then it also can plug into ServCE if you're using our data collection, the same RoadNet file. For the mass haul routine, we run that. Okay, that's spelled correctly. Okay. So I've just defined what stations these are at. So let's just look at the report as is. So it's loading that finished grade section file. Okay. So up here it's telling me where the cut is, and then it's minimizing the earth movement to find an equal fill station range. So it's saying that the cut in this range can go to this fill range. And I can see I need you can see the cut and fill amount that's here. So I have a needed import. Okay, and then this is saying just based off of the stationing, you know, where it should try to get those that extra fill from. So let's put in the distances for that. So if I run the command again and load these files, okay, I can go to this station and double click on it, and I can say set the distance. So I could type in a distance if I knew how far away the borrow pit was from its entering station, or I can do set, and if I've drawn a line for that, I can just pick on that line and it reads that value. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and I'll pick on this line. Okay, and then I'll go to the third one, pick on this line. So now it's going to incorporate those all distances and recalculate the best borrow pit to use.
Okay, Todd, we have another question. How do I apply this to a large-scale housing project to look at hauls between major cuts and fills?
Yeah, we have a different routine for that. So there's cut fill centroids for a site that will tell you haul distances on a site for regions of cut or fill. That's under surface, the centroids. This mass haul is taking volumes from along that road and then determining by stationing where that should go. So there's kind of a different routine for the site work. Okay, so now looking at these distances, now it doesn't want to use this station. It's using those other borrow pits. You can see that there's another element here that we can add, and that's conditions. So, you know, maybe this road is a lot closer, but maybe it's a dirt road, or it's some unpaved road. It's going to be a lot slower, or it's a high traffic road, and this would be all highway. So you can take that into account, the conditions of the road, on which ones you'd want to use. So to do that, we're just going to run the mass haul again. Okay, I'm going to do the existing and finished grade. And now, you know, maybe let's come in here and say the road conditions are really bad along here and make them a 4. And then you can see there's another value here where you can set a volume limit. So maybe on this first one, you know, this borrow pit, I can only take 10,000 cubic yards from it. Now we've given the program a lot of information. The distance the borrow pit is away, the conditions along that road, and then how much I could actually take from that borrow pit. So with all those 3 elements defined, the program will better determine which borrow pit to use. And this is the last thing I'm showing, and then I can answer any more questions. But here I can see, okay, well, this is the best one to use. It's close, and the conditions are good. And so it uses the max 10,000 there. And then, this one's closer, but the conditions are bad. So now it's getting the rest of the needed import fill from this second borrow bit. And that's what we've added to the mass haul for 2014. For the site, you want to use the centroids. So it's under cut fill utilities and cut fill centroids. So that's instead of stations, it finds whole regions of cut and fill, and based on a plan view instead of just stationing an area of cut and fill, and we'll give you haul distances between those. Is there any other questions, Karen?
No, that's the last of the questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time. We're going to have more webinars each Wednesday coming up, and they're going to go in through drill holes and CADNet and Trench and those new modules, so you can get familiar with those as well. Thanks for your time, and take care.